Hey, how you guys doing? Almost 11 years back, I was sitting in front of my boss, and something happened. I basically sat there, and I looked at how much money I was generating, and I was trying to figure out what I was worth and how much I was getting paid. And like many of you out there, you're like, that's a really shitty ratio. And so I left and started an analyst firm, and then left and started this one. And like you, I know how hard it is to start a business, and even how much harder it is, especially given what's going on. So the context here is we started the company in 2010 talking about digital transformation and what kind of shift would happen. And we looked at it from the large company perspective, not realizing that it was hitting everybody. It was hitting every business, every type of business in almost every geography. And now 10 years later, it is now a mainstream topic. Now this stat basically talks about what's going on. 52% of the Fortune 500 merged, acquired, gone bankrupt since 2000, right? These companies are going away. This is something huge, right? And they're not going away because they didn't try. They're not going away because they didn't know any better. They're going away because this transformation is huge. Now, what we're talking about are businesses that are digital. And these businesses are not just because they're in a digital channel. These are businesses that are using things like data, digital technologies to help them make better decisions. And those companies that are succeeding in what we're calling these data-driven businesses, they're winning. They're taking market share. 40 to 70% of our profits, 40 to 77% of market share. That's the transformation that's happening. Now, I want to point something out here, and this is really important because when you think about this transformation, we always think about, oh, it's a tech company, right? It's a tech company, something in Silicon Valley. So bear with me for a second. Tell me, what do you think was the top performing stock since 2010? I'm going to give you some names. You tell me what you think might possibly be some of these. So yell out loud. What was the top performing stock since 2010? Apple. I hear Amazon. What else? Heard Netflix, Alibaba. What else? All right, are you guys ready? I'm going to do the countdown. 3, 2, not that one. 1. Here we go. Exactly. It is the worst tasting pizza. Think about this. Right? There's no one from Domino's here. Oh, if you have a franchise, I apologize. It is the worst tasting pizza. In like 2008 or 2009, the CEO came up and said, hey, I really apologize. The pizza tastes bad. We're going to reformulate this pizza, make it a little bit better. But then they did something different. They started tracking everything they did. They opened up digital channels, right? What happens at 5 p.m., or even 4 p.m. on a Friday? Who has the Domino's app? Raise your hands. All right, there's a number of you. What happens at 4 p.m. on a Friday? You get a notification to say, would you like a pizza by your house by 6? You know where the pizza is. You know what you ordered. It's in the oven. It's coming out of the oven. It's 10 minutes from your house. It's 5 minutes from your house. They have it down. They use that data to improve the process. They use the mobile channel. You can order through Alexa. It's available in person, and they've mastered that. That's what we're talking about. And if an analog company with really bad pizza can manage to be this successful, right, most of us can figure out at least a way to get there. Now, what is this? This is what we call a post-sale on-demand attention economy. Post-sale meaning selling a product is not enough. It's everything after the sale. Installation and warranty, right? It's all those services that happen after the sale that are now much more valuable. It's also what we call on-demand. People aren't buying a lot of things at once. They're buying smaller and smaller segments of your product, of your service, of your experience, and of your outcomes. And more importantly, it's an attention economy. If I'm not saving you time, or I'm not capturing your attention, you're not interested. Customers are no longer loyal. They're trading loyalty for services. They're trading loyalty for convenience. They're trading loyalty for value. They're trading loyalty for status. They're not very loyal. You know that. And this is the challenge that we face. Okay, now what I'm about to talk to you about digital transformation, is really important because there are two concepts you have to understand. The first one is incremental innovation, and the second one is transformational innovation, which applies to digital transformation. And I'm going to give you an example of what that looks like. Who remembers this device, the Sony Walkman? Woo! What year did this device come out? 79. We got a 79. That's correct. 79 is correct. We have a winner. 79 in Japan, 81 in the US. Right? This was transformational. I grew up in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I cut lawns to pay for school. Oh, you from Allentown? Scranton, all right. Whew. All right, so I grew up in Allentown, Pennsylvania, so I cut lawns to pay for school. This thing was amazing, right? Portable music, right, in the 80s, right? I waited 5 years for the next incremental innovation to show up. I couldn't find it at a store. I couldn't order it in a catalog. I couldn't do anything with this. I had to go to Japan to pick this up. What do you think was the cool innovation I picked up in 1989? Yell out loud. Discman. No, even worse, the double cassette Walkman. 2 cassettes, 180 minutes, rechargeable battery. Remember those crazy yellow headsets? This is what incremental innovation looks like. You're like, that wasn't interesting. Yeah, it wasn't, but hey, I got 180 minutes in, right? That's like 5 lawns. So the point being is, that was a shift. Now, let's think about it this way. The iPod, lots of examples of Apple, the iPod was transformational because it was about portable music. And in fact, they took it to the next level. And so when they got to the iPhone, it was something big. Now, who had an iPhone in 2006? Raise your hands. Let's see all the early adopters. Woohoo, it came out in 2007. You were really early. But that's okay. This device killed 27 business models. Think about it. You don't need a flashlight. You don't need a GPS device, right? What do? I mean, mapping is all there. Your music is there. Everything is sitting on that device. That's 27 business models, 50,000 products, almost 10 million jobs destroyed by one device. Now, let's be honest. The components in this device are only $150. And they're getting $1,000, $1,200 for it. That's awesome margin. These guys are coming after them too because they're trying to go after this. It's great money. And they're also on the high end, but they're both losing because these folks are selling the phones for $200. Crazy, isn't it? So this is the shift, right? So even if you're in that advanced area, there is something that's still important. Brand does matter, but also you can be disrupted from underneath very quickly. And just in 10 years, just like how BlackBerry disrupted Apple, we have the same problem here. Now, there are a couple rules to digital transformation. The first one is that this is a business model shift, right? This isn't about the new technologies. It starts with changing your business models, building it around data, and then transforming the way we engage. This is the point, right? We're changing those channels so we can build new business models. And once we understand that, that's the big shift. Now, there's lots of ways to do this, right? You've heard about these technologies in social, right? Mobile, cloud. Mobile is not about just the technology. It's about doing things in motion. It's about freeing the cord. It's about in-between time. Social is about changing the way we engage. Who uses social media in the room, right? This is about sharing. It's about collaborating. It's about publishing. It's about washing your hands after the slide. But you get the idea, right? We're changing the way we engage. Now, the cloud, which you hear a lot about with Zoho, the cloud is really about unlimited access to compute power, to storage, putting everything in one place. Big data, nobody wants more data. People want to make better decisions. You want to take that data and get to the next best action. And when we think about what's going on with IoT, that's about being able to get context. And when you have context, you become more relevant. So time and location, those areas, it helps you engage. And when you think about what happens in 3D printing, that's just pretty cool. You can print things on the fly. Now, who's used a ride-sharing service in the last 4 weeks? Oh my God, almost everybody in the room. Okay, you get the idea. It's a business model first, then we apply the technology. It's mobile. You look down to see where the driver is. They look to see where you are. You text them and say, hey, I'm over here. It's social. You engage with them. You rate the drivers, but they also rate you, right? And it's also the cloud, your business, your pricing, your profile, where the cars are, the driver's information, all gets stored and aggregated in one place. And it's also big data. What happens when it rains when you're in a rideshare? Prices go up. It's dynamic pricing in action. And so you see that. And it's also IoT because they sell the information about what routes are most popular, where the drivers are, what's the traffic like. In some cases, they're even taking pictures for map services. And it's also possibly 3D printing. Imagine you get your Domino's pizza printed in the car and delivered, right? So you get that kind of stuff. So there's a way to take this by understanding the business model and then applying the technology. Now, the cool stuff that's really happening up until 2025, IoT is still going to be very popular, 3D printing is important, but mixed reality is very important, right? The ability to transform new experiences, the ability to deliver field service, the ability to deliver new types of training, and then of course we see a lot of robotics coming into play, a lot of automation. 5G is going to change the way you receive your services, and then there's blockchain, but the biggest shift is going to happen in areas like AI and quantum. AI is the ability to figure out how do we get to that level of cognitive computing where machines are actually starting to think for themselves. And so we're going to see a lot of that. Now, the second thing we have to think about is we're not just selling products anymore. If you're selling just a product, you've missed it. Products are turning to services. Services are turning to experiences. And while we're battling for those experiences, it's ultimately about delivering on outcomes. Those outcomes are important. Free cell phone with a 2-year service contract. That's basically a product becoming a service. Services company delivering on experiences, think about when you get to the 10th level of Angry Birds, or you get to a gigabyte of storage, you go from freemium to premium. And when you make that shift, you're now going from services to experiences. Experience companies are giving experiences away for business models. We'll take care of everything for you for $1,000 a year, don't even worry about it. And those companies delivering on business models are delivering on outcomes and expectations like peace of mind. We'll take care of everything. You never have to worry about it. If it goes down, we will pay you for every day of lost revenue. And we see these models pick up everywhere. Now, in the old days, here's a great example, medical equipment, right? Anyone in the healthcare business? All right, durable medical equipment or medical equipment like this. You'd pay $1 million for the machine. Then you would actually pick and pay for installation. Then you'd spend some money on training, and then they would sell you a support and maintenance contract. So by the time you're done, it might be $5 million, it might be $6 million. Now, if you're in this business, you don't care. You don't think in this kind of way. All you care about is revenue per patient scan. So the idea is to make sure the machine's running as long as it can, there's no downtime, and you're getting the best reimbursement for each scan. So all you care about is uptime. And now when you buy these machines, it changes. We go from buying the machine for $3.5 million for the next 5 years, guaranteed 80% uptime. And if you want 95% uptime, that's $4.5 million. You see the shift. Now, the machine equipment manufacturer is responsible for making sure that machine's always up. They're making sure that it never goes down. They're studying the machines, trying to figure out what's going on. They're trying to figure out which vendors' parts are breaking down more often, but all you worry about is uptime. You buy an outcome. That is the big shift. It's happening with HVAC units. It's happening with a whole bunch of things that are normally seen as capital equipment. Now, who's been to a Disney movie? Anybody go to Disneyland, vacation, a Disney cruise? Okay. Why do you do Disney? I want to know. Yell out loud. Why is Disney so important to you? Familiarity. Ooh, okay. Experience. What else? Kids. Yes. But why do you do Disney? It is more expensive than everybody else. They tell you what to do. It's a very controlled experience. This baffles me all the time. Anybody use the Magic Band? The Magic Band. Disney spent $1 billion on a Magic Band. It is your key to your room. It's your mission pass in the park. It allows you to pay for things. And they use all that data to improve the experience inside the park. They can figure out, hey, there's 5,000 more people in the park today. We need to staff the park differently, right? Oh my God, we're out of $10 turkey legs. We gotta fill up. Tomorrowland's crowded. We've gotta change the queue. And so you're now spending $10 more to get into the park so that they can track you like a gerbil, so that you can buy more crap, and you love it. That's what makes it interesting, right? But what they realized is they're not competing with another theme park. They're not competing with another character or a movie. they're ultimately competing for your time and attention. You could be home, you could be reading a book, you could be hanging out with your friends, you could be at the mall. But when you're out there, they use that data, they use that experience to make sure it's the best experience they can give you, and that's what it's built around it. They know it's about your time and attention, and that's the only thing that matters. Now the third piece that's important here is what we call unit cost pricing. This is basically what is the smallest increment of a product, a service, an experience, and an outcome you can actually deliver. Now, you guys remember these guys, Dollar Shave Club? You guys were great. They didn't sell razors, they sold shaves as a service, right? Great commercials, don't watch them with your kids, but you get the idea. Now, let's take this to something more tangible. If I told you we're going from a 2-liter Coke to a case of Coke to a can of Coke, who here in the room would pay $0.25 for a sip of Coke? Raise your hands. That was a weird question, wasn't it? A sip of Coke? What are you talking about? That is the smallest increment, is a sip of Coke. So let me change this around and do it this way. Unlimited sips of Coke. Any freestyle machine, like that machine in the back you see in the theaters with 100 different flavors, any freestyle machine in the world for 2 weeks, who would pay $10 to do that? Unlimited sips, oh, we got people. Unlimited sips of Coke. This doesn't work in San Francisco, it's usually water. But amazing, right? So I just changed the offer because I could figure out what's the smallest unit. If you're in the power generation business, you sell megawatts of hour. You sell kilowatts of hour. Imagine if I said, I want to buy a green electron. I want to buy it between the hours of 3 and 5 p.m. I want it 90% solar, 10% hydro. That's what you can start to do. So imagine your business. What is that smallest thing you sell someone? And let's figure out what that increment is, and then you can transform the experiences. You can use data to create brand new types of tests, and then you can go out and try to figure out how people react to this. Now, to get here, we need data, lots of data. Every conversation, every clip, every video, every sound, every text, every point of sale. When we put that data together, that is how we actually build these digital businesses. Digital transformation doesn't happen if you're not capturing that data. Now, if you've got Zoho One, if you've got different systems like that, you're capturing that important data. The question is, how do we harvest that data so we can do some crazy things? Now, data, lots of it, is all over the place. The other thing you have to remember is the data outside of your company is going to be just as important as the data inside your company. And when you do that, you realize there's other sources of data we have to bring in. That data, once you bring it together, we want to align it to business processes. Procure to pay, order to cash, campaign to lead, incident to resolution, hire to retire. And when you put all that together, you now have the ability to figure out patterns on that process. And once you figure out those patterns, you can figure out different insights, and from those insights, you can then figure out what type of actions you want to take. This is what we call data to decisions, and I'll show you some examples of that as we talk about these data-driven business models. Now, if 20% of your revenue is not coming from this, and we say by 2020, you don't really have a digital business, because a digital business needs this type of data. So a great example, who uses Waze or Google Maps? Does it help you with your commute? Yeah, pretty good. Did it also show everybody all your shortcuts? Yeah, it did that too, right? But it's just a little bit of information that transforms your customer experience. Just that little bit of insight can transform what happens. So let's go back to the Disney World example. You're on your way to Disney World, you're driving down the highway, you have 2 gallons of gas left, the kids are in the car, you've been in the car for 5 hours, and someone says, I have to pee. Who would pay $1 for an app that shows you the nearest gas station? All right. Well, the business is actually not even in that app. There are at least 100, maybe 200 businesses that would be willing to spend anywhere from $100 to $10,000 a month tracking down people who are down to 2 gallons of gas and making them an offer. That's an example of taking a little bit of data to transform those experiences. The second thing is something crazy. People want to know how many payroll checks you processed, how much power you used, how much water you consumed, and they're buying weird types of data like that. And they're putting it together, they're aggregating it, they're doing analysis, they're selling insights, and that's a whole business in itself. And then the third piece is a set of marketplaces that are selling that data and brokering that at scale. Now here's another example of how this works. Anybody have this problem? It's 3 p.m., there's a quick knock on the door, you're on the phone, you're expecting a package, and then they're gone. Anybody have this problem? This happens to me every day I'm home. The FedEx, UPS people, like sometimes they don't even knock, right? And then you get that stupid door hanger that says, sorry, we missed you, right? Now the problem with the door hanger isn't the door hanger, it's the fact that if you miss them, you'll never get your package until 7 p.m. in some bizarre warehouse district that you have to drive to that's like 30 minutes away in the middle of rush hour. You get this problem? All right, you get this problem. Imagine if I could actually take that door tag, track the barcode, find the driver on Waze, run to the driver, and pick up my package. Who'd pay $10 to do that? Who'd pay $10 if it was shoes? All right, I got more takers. You get the idea. Just a little bit of data allows me to create a brand new revenue model. Now, this is actually a real story. In the room 4 years ago, I was using this as an example of IoT and businesses and cool stuff you could do. And in the back of the room, this guy's like, no. And I couldn't figure out what he was saying. And up comes this guy, and he says, I'm from UPS. You can transfer the package. You can put it to UPS store. You can send it someone else. We can put it in a locker. But please don't have anyone run after my drivers. A year later, he submitted his project and won one of our innovation awards. So, Ken won the Supernova Award. So it was very interesting, right? So you can do this. Now, we often talk about other things like IoT, and these are data-driven business models. And let me give you an example here. So who in this room fills out the warranty card for their toaster? Raise your hands. I want to know which folks do this. All right, I got about like 4 hands up. Not a lot of people fill out the toaster registration card. But imagine if you're the manufacturer or the retailer that sells toasters, or any appliance for that matter. What is the first call you get? It's awful. My toaster is broke. I don't know how to use it. Something is wrong. It's on fire, right? Any of these things are possible. You are on negative net promoter score, which is an indication of customer satisfaction. You're on negative NPS on the first call. And then you spend 30 minutes trying to figure out, did we even sell that to them? Who's on the other line? What the heck do they have? Why are they unhappy? It's such a miserable experience. Imagine if we flipped this around and I said, look, buy that toaster. I will monitor your toaster so long you connect it to the internet, give me a zip code, maybe an email, and 30 days before that toaster ever dies, maybe even 90 days before the toaster dies, I will warn you. Who would now register their toaster, their washer, their dryer, their refrigerator? Raise your hands. Would you now do that just so that you would know when it would die? Let me ask even better. If that happens, I would also offer you that same toaster, that same washer for the same price you paid, even if it was 10 years later, and have it delivered to you before the other product died. Who would register now? All right, I got a lot of you now. That's what we want to be able to get to. That's an example of what you do here, because suddenly you're monitoring the toaster. And you're figuring out what parts break. You know what's working better than anyone else. You can send a fix before it happens. You're doing comparisons. Quick question, why do toasters in Houston break more than toasters in Denver? Anybody know? Humidity. Why do toasters in New York break more than toasters in Austin? Bagels, yes. This is what we get to, right? Now, the guy in the gray shirt, you said you filled out the registration card. What's your name? What? Len? Len, where are you from? Toronto. Okay. Oh, this actually works in Toronto. You pay for HVAC this way too, right? You buy power purchase contracts, right? So I'm going to ask you a question. If I said, look, I'm going to take all your appliances in your house, right? Well, we'll start with the toaster. For your toaster, I'm going to offer you the toaster at 10 cents a month for the next 10 years. Right? And if it ever breaks, I will give you a brand new toaster, just like the one you had, or give you a chance to upgrade if you want it, for 10 cents a month. Would you take that deal? Len is in for Toast as a service. Please give him a round of applause. Let me ask you this other question. Let me take all your appliances, washer, dryer, refrigerator, range, microwave. Take all your appliances for $75 a month for the next 10 years. We'll take care of anything. If it breaks, we'll give you that offer. If you want to go higher end, like LG, Samsung, it'll be $150 a month. If you want to go super high end, Gaggenau, Miele for $300 a month, we'll take care of that. Would you take that offer? One of them, he's in. All right, give Len a round of applause. We now have all these different models. In fact, we actually created brand new business models. The first one was customer experience monitoring. We know why something breaks. The second one was the ability to diagnose a problem and fix it before it happens. The third one was Toast as a service. Then we went direct to consumer. We went straight to the customer to fix something, and then we cross-sold and upsold them something. If you're looking for revenue and growth, this is how you take something like IoT and data and build out the business. Every industry is learning from each other. You're seeing that shift. Retailers from manufacturers, manufacturers from hospitality, hospitality from healthcare. All these different shifts are happening. Now, the sixth one is really important. This is about what we call vertically integrated data models. You're either the content, which is a product, a service, or something you read, or media. You're either the network, which is the distribution, which gets stuff out to people, or you're the technology, which enables all this to happen. Now, in the history of businesses, most companies couldn't do all three. In fact, they did one or maybe two, and then they got broken up. But today, we have vertically integrated data models. And we've got businesses like Amazon that are going after this. So let me give you an example. Amazon started out, they're a happy commerce player, everybody was a partner except for eBay, they were all wonderful partners, and then Amazon shut down the stores and went after their business, right? Sounds like most small businesses, right? Getting crushed. Okay, that's the content. They learned how to and what to sell, what had the highest margins, what had the highest volume, and they went after those markets. Then they went out and said, hey, we've got to figure out this video thing, and media, and other streaming. And companies like Netflix are like, oh, great, I use Amazon, it's wonderful, they're not competing with us. But what they did was they studied all the performance and operational data of Amazon, learned from them, and figured out how to do it better than they did. And suddenly Amazon is competing with Netflix and Hulu and everybody in the media business. And then they got the other part of content. Then Amazon put 100 distribution centers in North America. Very efficient supply chain distribution centers and all the last mile. So let me ask you a question. Does the United States Postal Service deliver on Sunday? Yes or no? For the people that said no, can the yes people tell them what they deliver on Sunday? Amazon, yes, only Amazon. They used and weaponized the Postal Service to beat the crap out of their biggest partners, FedEx and UPS. Then we got cloud computing. If you compete with Amazon in any possible way, you do not want to use their cloud. Here's what happens. Here's what Amazon's workloads look like. January, November, December, January. If you use Amazon and compete with them, you're subsidizing their ability to beat the crap out of you in a holiday season, right? They took the cloud distribution capability, and then they got everybody on it to subsidize their ability to beat everyone else up. Pretty smart. Then they bought some media properties. Bezos technically owns the Washington Post. He spent $500 million for the Post. He can deliver newspapers here in digital content. He could deliver it here as a paper. He could deliver it on any one of his devices and Alexa. You are seeing content network technology in a vertically integrated data model, which is basically a digital monopoly. And that's what you're up against. Okay? The question is, who can you partner with to get out of that? And that's one of the biggest challenges in these digital businesses. We end up with digital duopolies, digital monopolies like this that you cannot beat. And so you figure out who you can partner with and trust and who you want to form one of these partnerships with. And as small businesses, you have to get this right, because if you don't, and someone like an Amazon will crush you. right? And they'll crush you every chance they can if they see the volume and the margins. Now, if you stay under the radar, which is what we all do, we'll stay under the radar, maybe they won't notice, yeah, you'll get a good run. You get 3 to 5 years out of it, but when that market picks up, they're gonna take everyone out of it. And that's what's happening. And so that's one of the things you have to watch out for. Now, the seventh thing that's important is we talked a lot about technology. We talked a lot about business models, but you have to humanize digital. And this is why it's really important to think about left brain, right brain capabilities. On the slide is basically monitoring at a GE energy center, right? It's so easy, even Homer can do it. No, I'm just kidding. It's so easy because you're looking at heat maps, you're looking at visual displays. And what really happens here is there's a lot of design thinking, a lot of design experience where people think about how you can make information useful to people. This means we've got to encourage left brain and right brain thinking. A lot of scientists, technology, engineering folks, and math folks in your company, you need to have philosophers, artists, designers, sociologists, people that understand behavior. You want that balance because it's needed in order to succeed in the digital world. Part of the reason is when we're working on innovation, we need lots of diversity. And I'm not going to give you the groaning speech about diversity of all these other things. I'm talking about diversity of thought. Different disciplines, an architect, an artist, an author, all in the same room, look at the world differently, and that's the type of inclusion, that's the type of diversity you need to spark innovation. There are other areas and other factors that are important, but that is probably the biggest one, is that different perspective in terms of disciplines. People that are really good at their jobs from different places. You see that when they do crowdsourcing. They put a challenge out there, and it turns out this tough problem that a scientist has been trying to figure out for 10 years gets solved by, a 20-year-old that's actually, a philosophy major, right? That's what we're trying to get to, right? And that's why design thinking is really important. Now, the second to last piece is also related to personalization and making things more human. And this is what we talk about in mass personalization at scale. Now, this mass personalization at scale means we can actually deliver the things people actually want and use software and technology to do it at scale. The first thing we need, context, location, time, weather, what people purchased, how do they feel, that becomes important. Context gives us the relevancy. The second thing, remember these books, Choose Your Own Adventure books? These are great. Start on page 1, go to page 72, make another choice, go to 35, end up on 40. Sorry, the end. Hey, but there are 23 different endings. The point being is, in a digital world, every choice is a demand signal. You can attribute it to the context. Where were they? What time of day? What was the weather like? How's the location? And when you have context and you have choices, you can start to understand why people make certain decisions. And this is where anticipatory analytics, the third piece, comes in. Who remembers Wayne Gretzky, famous ice hockey player? Woo! All right, Wayne Gretzky, someone asked his father, what makes Wayne a great player? He said, he skates to where the puck will be. That's profound. How do you know where the puck's gonna be? Is it the tilt? Is it the angle? Is it the time? Is it where you are on the ice? Is it the eye contact? But that's the guess you make. So I'm gonna use an example here. Who physically buys coffee in the morning? Raise your hands. Who buys coffee? Not free stuff at work. Who physically pays for coffee? All right, woman in the black. What's your name? Kathy, where are you from? Austin. Oh, you're local. Where do you get your coffee? Where? Summerman. Summer Moon. Oh yeah, okay, Summer Moon. What time in the morning you go to Summer Moon? So 10 in the morning, Summer Moon, what do you order?
I get like their
Half moon latte. Okay, so 10 in the morning, get a half moon latte. Totally get it. Do you always get that? Or chai, okay. So, beautiful spring, 65 degrees, 90% of the time, you'll get the half moon latte. Perfectly get it. Now, summer hits. It's 90 degrees outside. Would you still get the half moon latte or chai? And ice. Now you get ice. Very, very interesting. Do you ever order food with your coffee? Sometimes. What do you get? Okay, let's give her a round of applause. Thank you. I'll explain why. What I just did was I took the context, the time, the location over a period of time, and I offered a bunch of choices to see where you'll be. Now, I wanted to know if the temperature difference would actually make you order something. So the first choice, 90%, we're gonna get a half moon latte or chai. The second choice depends on the weather. And so I had a 70% chance if the weather went up that you might actually get something that's colder, and you get the iced version of that. And then there's a third option, which is like an A/B test that says, would you get the cookie, would you get something else? This is what we're trying to do. In fact, we're trying to do this in all the things that we do, not just customer experience, but also in employee experiences and in future of work. Think about it. I walk in the lobby of a skyscraper, let's say the Bank of America building here. I walk in, 30-story building, I'm on the 15th floor. It's 2 p.m., I walk in the lobby, facial recognition, gait analysis, says, hey, it looks like the guy on the 15th floor, send an elevator down. Okay, it makes sense. Swipe my badge, it knows exactly who I am. It jumps in and says, great, would you like to go to the 15th floor? There's a 90% chance I'm going to the 15th floor. But wait, my boss, she's on the 25th floor and I need to get to her. I've been trying to meet with her for weeks. There's a 20-minute opening and it says, would you like to go to the 25th floor to meet your boss? There's a 70% chance I'm gonna take that offer. Isn't that pretty cool? But wait, there are free donuts on the 5th floor. Where do I go now? Snack bar, snack bar. Okay, I'll get the donuts, go to the boss, but you get the idea. And this is the secret to all this AI-driven personalization. Mass personalization at scale happens when you get a little bit of data, digital footprint, digital exhaust, and then we figure out what to do with it. And once we have a little bit of segmentation, we can make some guesses. We start by delivering on what we call immersive experiences. They start by figuring out, hey, what type of context are you in? Taking that context, we surface up some content, we engage with it, which is collaboration, and when we give you a set of channels where this pops up. So I'm in the elevator, shows up on my headset, shows up on my phone, shows up on the console, it gives me a bunch of choices. Then we deliver personalization at scale, and that's where we take some guesses. That's where anticipatory analytics come into place. I throw up a catalyst in this case, and then I set you a bunch of choices, and those offers then allow me to engage. Once we do that, we have a value exchange. Sometimes we buy something or we pay, that's monetary. Sometimes it's non-monetary. We make a like, we make a recommendation, we send it off to someone else. And other times we have an agreement or consensus. We make an appointment, we schedule something, and we put it all together, and then we figure out the cadence. Does it happen one time? Does it happen all the time? Does it only happen when a certain situation arises? And then we learn that and we put it back into the system. This is the future of every single next best action, every single customer journey, every single employee experience, and this is what we're going to see as these systems get smarter and smarter, right? This is how AI gets put into action. Now, why are we doing this? We're doing this because we ultimately want better outcomes. We start by saying, hey, what's going on? Give me some perception. Then we make some recommendations. Then we automate those recommendations. And then over time, we take those recommendations, those notifications or recommendations, we take that and we start making predictions. And ultimately, we're trying to prevent bad things from happening. We're trying to mitigate risk. So, anybody allergic to foods like nuts, gluten, milk, anything like that? Imagine if every time you ordered, they knew your allergy preferences, and you would never ever get something that you're allergic to. Think about it, how many millions of lives would be saved? Think about how many millions of dollars of lawsuits would be avoided. That's what we're trying to talk about, right? Anybody remember the Samsung Galaxy phone Note? World's most famous phone in airports, right? Always being recalled, don't bring one of these on the phone. Okay, that was an $8 billion recall over 8 weeks. They had 8 sigma of quality. 100 phones took out $8 billion. If you can go from 8 weeks to 1 week, you'd go from 8 billion to 1 billion. If you can go from 1 week to 1 day, you get it down to $10 million. That's the type of savings we're trying to get to. That's the type of mitigation we're trying to get to. AI helps you with compliance. It helps you to mitigate risks. It helps you to figure out how to prevent something bad from happening. So that's the big shift. Basically what's happening is we're in different waves of computing, and we're ultimately going to get to these cognitive systems that are out there. And that's the big shift. We're going from ERP and CRM to social systems, to experience-based systems, to mass personalization at scale, and then ultimately these cognitive systems that are out there. But where are we on AI? We're just at the beginning, right? We're starting to do predictive analytics and machine learning. There's a lot ahead of us, but it's really important for you to get started to think about this, start thinking about next best actions and the outcomes you want to get to. Last piece, 5 generations of digital. What we're talking about here is cultural transformation, right? This is how well you know a technology and how likely you will use that technology. And that's what we call digital proficiency. Digital natives, they jump straight in. They're happy to do it, but it's not by age. I volunteer in retirement homes. There are 80-year-olds that don't have paper or pencil. They're on tablets. They're texting you for tech support questions at home, right? They're bugging you. They're sending you pictures. They can barely hold on to a pencil, but they're on tablets. They're digital natives. Who here takes notes on a physical notebook in a meeting? Raise your hands. Raising up high. You are digital immigrants. You're stuck between different technologies. You should do this straight on a computer or tablet or phone. Why do you write? I'll be honest, I drew all my slides on paper before I put it on PowerPoint. That's crazy. Now, who takes pictures of their notes and texts themselves? Anyone do this? You are doubly a digital immigrant. So you get the idea. Now, digital voyeurs, they know the technology, they're comfortable, but they're not ready to jump in. Please be kind to those. And the digital holdouts, we can't help them. They're like, no, I don't want to do this. Please don't tell me about it. I'm not interested. And then we have a very interesting category called digitally disengaged. Remember your friends that showed you the coolest apps that were always first with the newest gadgets? They were always in line for the coolest tech thing? Those folks, where did they go? They're now paying in cash. They use burner phones. They avoid video cameras. They always wear hoodies. What's going on? They know Snowden was right. We're being watched. All right, these guys have disengaged. They're not ready to be in this. Now, this is why it's so important. Understand how well you know the technology and how likely you use that technology. That's digital proficiency. So don't be mean to the folks that don't get it yet. Don't assume someone younger gets it. Don't someone older doesn't get it. Age is not the deciding factor here. Okay, so where are we in this? This digital transformation is real. 68% of the companies we work with are getting a ROI. More importantly, they're focused on everything from engaging customers, building data-driven businesses, improving their business models, using data to be much more efficient. They're using this in all different ways. This digital transformation is here. They're also modernizing their systems with digital. Now, who leads this? Lots of folks, right? CIOs, CEOs, CDOs. But under 10 million, it's typically the CEO. If you're the owner of the business or if you got someone in charge of tech, you're driving this change. It's up to you to make that change, right? And that's a very important thing. Now, larger companies, they have CIOs that are doing it, and sometimes the CEO if you're up to that size. But just something to think about. It's real, it's happening. We've been talking about it for 10 years. There's a phrase that we say, digital Darwinism is unkind to those who wait. There's no time to wait. If you look at something bigger like the S&P 500, the average age of a company in 1958 was 60 years. Today, the average age of a company is 15. We are trending to 12. That's a 3 to 4x compression in how old companies are. And those companies are going away. Now, how do we get there? It's going to be very important to think about getting the right teams in place, but it's really about taking a process, taking a concept, and getting it out there. Testing it, iterating it, making sure that you're successful with it. Culture is very, very important. A concept to commercialization is very important, but it's really to make sure that everybody inside the company understands why you're making the change and why it benefits them. If you don't see a benefit, don't do it. Really, don't do it. It's not worth your time. But if you can see a benefit, if it's going to help make you more competitive, then definitely jump into this transformation. All right, so how do we get started? I said earlier, 52% of the Fortune 500 merged, acquired, gone bankrupt, fallen off the list. Well, we have to make some changes. The first thing is we have to think about what experiences and outcomes you're trying to transform. Start with that. Then we've got to build a culture. Get the 5 generations of workers, think about digital artisans, get people ready to understand how to be digitally proficient. Then think about the business model shift. How we go from products to services, services to experiences. What's the smallest unit of something we can buy? How do we transform that experience? And then we can apply some data. We're using data to figure out what products are being used. We're using data to figure out what markets to go to. We're using data to figure out when to hire, how to hire, and we're putting that to use. And we're using from gut-driven, we're moving from gut-driven to data-driven decisions. And then we're going out and figuring out what can we do to co-create and co-innovate. Which partners can we work with? Who can we collaborate with? What networks can we provide? And if you put all these things in place, you're now able to build a digital business. Thank you very much.